Welcome to PreciousMetalsInvesting.com. My name is Ted Sudol, and I have the pleasure of having as my guest today Paul Majenovic. Paul is the author of Precious Metals Investing for Dummies. He also has his own website, RavenCapitalist.com. Welcome, Paul.
Good to be back on a program, Ted, and I think, there's been all the headlines filled with Russia and the Ukraine, etc., and you think, what could be the possible short-term and long-term consequences of this controversy and the potential conflict that's unfolding over there,
Mm-hmm.
And I think for the most part, we could all see the idea that there's a real chance for military conflict, obviously, alrighty? So, there's plenty of analysts on the internet who will give you all sorts of angles about that one. I don't consider myself a military analyst, but what kind of impact is that going to have either economically or maybe on the stock market? Is there a potential here? And
I think there is a potential, and we've seen it so far. A lot of people are nervous, and you'll see in the beginning when there was a fear of conflict, the precious metals went up, and then a lot of the pundits were saying, "Oh, see, it's all resolved," and then it went down, and then it went up, and then it went down. So there are some very real short-term consequences, but I think you can expand on it some more.
Yeah, well, the Soviet, I call it the Soviet Union almost, but Putin is not the kind of guy who really is an easygoing fellow in a lot of these matters. So I'm almost certain that some of the fallout effect is going to have a direct or indirect effect on our financial markets. Part of what he's been, strongly, enunciating is the idea that, he might, get rid of the treasury bonds that they hold, and or have, new moves going in place. Like instead of having dollar reserves, maybe other currencies involved, etc. So the thing is, there's a potential, flow of money that can go in some direction that you and I cannot foresee. What will happen if treasuries start to be repatriated and we have to start paying that back, and the Federal Reserve has to be buying these, treasury bonds, for example. What then? You have money migrating back to our shores. What impact is that going to have on prices, etc.? The consumer confidence, etc. So, in many cases, for me, Ted, as I mentioned to you off camera, that I expect some major problems hitting our way with the economy and the financial markets. But what is hard to foresee is that it could happen in one of 100 scenarios, directly or indirectly. Could this be a potential one? I think it could just as easily have a potential as anything else. There's conflict across the globe. Anything out there could be the puncture. Or remember that old phrase used to say that, sometimes a hurricane starts, in the Midwest because there's a butterfly fluttering its wings in the, whatever, the Pacific, whatever.
And I think, that almost every action has, especially political action, has unintended consequences. And, oftentimes our leaders don't basically consider those consequences when they take their actions. So there might be much wider ramifications for what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's like once you start making some of these pronouncements, like, yes, you cannot cross this red line or else, Well, you know what? Sometimes or else is not easy to figure out, And I think that what a lot of investors have to constantly be doing is monitoring the safety of their portfolios in terms of, like, do you have good value, dividend payers, and so much more. Because, to me, having a lot of volatility and problems in the financial markets and stocks, to me, it's not an if, it's a when. And the point is, I'd rather be a year too early than a day too late on some of these moves. So keep monitoring, keep heading to safety, keep being self-sufficient, among other things, because I think, God only knows what kind of devastation is coming our way, directly or indirectly.
Right. I agree with you, Paul. Well, thanks for being with us today at PreciousMetalsInvesting.com. My guest has been Paul Majenovic. Paul is the author of Precious Metals Investing for Dummies. Thank you.
Thank you.